morning, everyone. My name is Savannah Gooden, and I'm with the Greenbrier East program. Today, we gather to honor and celebrate the remarkable men and women who have served our nation with unwavering courage and commitment. On this Veterans Day, we pause to reflect on the immense sacrifices made by our veterans and to express our deep gratitude for their service. I would like to start today by thanking those among us who, despite the risk and sacrifice, raised their hand to serve and defend this beautiful country. Our veterans and our active service duty members, to the members of the armed forces and the veterans who are here today, I'm deeply honored that you and your families decided to share your celebration with us. Veterans Day is more than just a date on the calendar. It is a profound reminder of all the values that defined us as a nation: bravery, selflessness, and dedication. These values are embodied by our veterans, whose stories of heroism, resilience inspire us all. Whether they have served on a distant battlefield or support roles here at home, their contributions have shaped the course of history and safeguarded the freedoms we cherish. To our veterans here today and those who are not with us, we offer our heartfelt thanks. Your bravery has kept our country safe and secure. Your sacrifices have paved the way for the liberties and opportunities we enjoy. We recognize the challenges that you face, the personal cost of your service, and we stand united in our appreciation and respect. As we proceed with today's ceremony, let us remember that honoring our veterans goes beyond this day. It is about ensuring that their legacy endures through our actions, our support for veterans communities, and our commitment to upholding the values they fought to defend. Thank you for your service, and thank you for all being here to show your support. Together, let us celebrate the bravery of our veterans and renew the pledge to uphold the principles of which they stood.
Veterans, when you hear your service song, please stand for the branch of your service.
thank you for your service.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be with you today. My name is Ali Omalu, and I currently serve as your senior class president. Today, we gather to honor and celebrate the brave men and women who have served our nation. As we do so, we recognize the incredible effort behind a special initiative known as Quilts of Valor. This program is dedicated to providing handmade quilts to veterans, symbolizing our gratitude and support for their sacrifices. Sergeant Brian Butler, today we present this quilt to you as a token of our appreciation for your service. Your 6-year dedication to the Air Force exemplifies the very best of what it means to serve. This quilt not only represents the warmth and comfort of home, but also the respect and admiration we have for you and all those who have donned the uniform. Next, we would like to honor Sergeant Zach Farley. Sergeant Farley, your service in the Army for the past 8 years and your commitment to our country have left an unfading mark on our community. This quilt is a heartfelt gesture of our appreciation for your bravery and sacrifice. The quilts you are receiving today were lovingly crafted by Sheila Johnson. Their dedication and skill reflect the collective gratitude of our community. With each stitch, they have woven a message of hope, healing, and honor. Thank you both for your service, and may you continue to find peace and joy in the years to come. Thank you.
The GHS choir will now be singing God Bless America.
Now, it is my honor to introduce today's Veterans Day guest speaker. Colonel Jeremy Miller is a graduate of Greenbrier High School's class of 2000. After graduation, he attended Ouachita Baptist University, where he earned a bachelor's degree in political science and speech communication in 2004. In 2007, he earned his master's degree in religion, and in 2018, he completed his doctorate. His military career began the day after the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, when he enlisted in the Army. He earned his commission as a Field Artillery Second Lieutenant in 2004. He became a chaplain in 2007 following his seminary graduation. Colonel Miller has served a combat deployment to Afghanistan. He has graduated from the Army Mountain Warfare School, Air Assault School, and completed various other military training requirements. His awards include the Bronze Star Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, and the Combat Action Medal. He is currently in his 23rd year of military service and is a senior Army chaplain for the Adjutant General of Arkansas. He is a lifelong resident of Greenbrier, where he and his wife Beth have raised 4 children: Bennett, Blair, Brenna, and Bryden. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Miller to the stage.
For our veterans who are always here, someday they'll realize that the one thing that we want is a good day off, maybe a tank full of gas and some free ammunition. How about that? That would be a great Veterans Day, I think. So write that down for next year. We'll remember it. Now, I'd like to begin by today thanking the administration for inviting me to be here. A couple of years ago, I noticed it was on a random Facebook post that someone said, "Why does Greenbrier not honor its veterans?" And they said, "Did you not go to the high school event? Did you not see the events at the junior high, at the middle school?" And I've been at all of those this week, concluding with this one, and I know that this is a chance to be able to honor everyone. So let's give a round of applause to not only the administration, but everyone who put this event on today. Now, I do believe that ceremonies alone can never fully express the gratitude that we need to be able to share to our veterans, to the men and women who took on the task, the sacred duty and responsibility for protecting our nation against foreign nations, against aggression. They were willing to not only sacrifice themselves, but they were willing to stand and protect their brothers and sisters in arms. So today, I know that we cannot forget that honor. We cannot forget that sacrifice, and we cannot forget the responsibility that you took one day when you raised your right hand and swore to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. We are here to be able to honor you today. So if anything else that I do, it's not necessarily to speak directly to the students, it's to say thank you for everything that you have done today. Let's go ahead and give all of our veterans a round of applause. I think it was Ronald Reagan who actually said it best when he said, "Veterans know better than anyone else the price of freedom because they have suffered the scars of war." We can offer them no better tribute than to protect what they have won for us, that they never let us down, and so therefore we can never let them down. I don't know if we have any veterans today from World War II. Do we have any that are able-bodied that were able to be here today? I was able to meet one yesterday at the junior high, 2 days ago at the junior high. We sat down, had a great breakfast, and a wonderful talk. We're blessed to have any of them among us because there are so few that are actually left. Theirs was a war that truly was largest in scope, fighting Germany's attempt to eradicate an entire nation, an entire ethnic group and religions that cost the lives of millions of people. Cities burned across Europe and across Asia, and our own land was even attacked. And yet 16 million Americans responded by serving in that war. Their courage led to victory over Germany and victory over Japan, which had to be a complete victory. There was no stopping halfway. There were no truces. There was no lull in fighting. It had to be a complete and utter victory. That even to this day, we have forces sitting in Germany, sitting in Japan right now, since they stopped in the place where they were at when the fighting stopped 80 years ago. We have what is often called the forgotten war, but it is very far from the truth for those who have fought in the mountains of Korea. Their grit saved a people from annihilation and oppression under communistic rule. That is what the men and women who have that combat patch, who have served in that area of combat, nearly 2 million serving in that war alone. And then some of them are here today. Do we have any of our Korean War veterans among us today? All right. There's a couple. So we know that they have some here. The one word that resounds with me right now is another word called bravery. And as I begin this thought today, I want to think about the bravery that comes to mind of the millions of Americans who served in Vietnam. Those that we want to give honor to and we want to give respect to because they were, of modern forces, the ones who set the tone for individuals like myself. They were the ones who were beginning to coach and mentor men like myself as they were leaving service, as they were still a lot of the senior individuals. Like previous wars, many joined, but many were drafted. So by show of hands, who are our veterans today from Vietnam? Outstanding. Let's give them a round of applause today. A challenge that I would set for every single senior and junior, everyone that we have in the audience today. When you see a hat that says Vietnam Veteran, I want you to do what they might not ever get enough of. Stop and thank them for their service.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Because it can never be said enough for this generation. These individuals who literally are the epitome of what bravery is. Because they serve to deter communism. They serve for the man right next to them in those jungles. Now, I cannot forget, and there's no way I can list every single conflict, but I can't neglect the Cold War as well. The Cold War being But understand that not all wars are fought with bullets and bombs. Veterans from this era built one of the strongest American militaries ever seen upon the face of the earth. These men and women were always ready. They were always prepared to fight off the wolves that were at the door. They reminded our enemies time and time again that they would be calculated if they wanted to pick a fight with this nation, because it would be a losing fight every single time. And you would say, well, how do we know that? Well, we know that because that rolled straight into the Gulf War. The Gulf War was a quick reminder of the American military might that we had built. When we said we will defend this, that this nation will not perish from the earth, that we will fight, and we will be able to support and defend this Constitution. Whenever a dictator decided to overtake a local oil-producing country of Kuwait, United Nations, 43 allied nations gathered together, led by American forces, and in 100 hours of combat, destroyed the fourth largest army in the world. Over 3,000 tanks, 2,200 artillery pieces, over 1,400 armored personnel carriers, at the cost of just under 200 American lives and 100 hours of fighting. The American forces were victorious in the Gulf War. If you are here today and you're a veteran of the Gulf War, could you raise your hand? Outstanding. Let's give them a round of applause. As a lifelong resident of Greenbrier, Arkansas, I remember sitting in my third grade class for Miss Tubbs. And as I was sitting there, I remember that she came over and called us all in, and she said, "We have gone into war." And that was the Gulf War kicking off. It was the first time that I began to understand what that meant. And she began to talk to us, and then she said specifically, she said, "I want you to pray for it." I remember the name because it was the father of a young lady that was in our class. She said, "I want you to pray for Mike Hampton. I want you to pray for his soldiers in the 142nd Field Artillery. I want you to pray for those individuals." And it was there a teacher that was leading the way and setting a standard for me to know that this state, this town, truly does support our veterans, and that was instilled in me from third grade on. The global war on terror is something that we must remember, because freedoms and our Constitution, the freedoms that our Constitution actually lays out, and this nation, and the rights that we have, require us to be those who are going to defend it at all times. On September 11, 2001, terror attacks struck America. Thousands of innocent lives, thousands of innocent civilians were lost, both in New York, in Washington, D.C., and in a Pennsylvania field. Innocent lives were taken. And as a response to that, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan took off. Afghanistan and Iraqi war veterans took the mantle of defenders. This new nation, they took this mantle of defense, and they made sure that we rooted out terrorism and those who supported them. So if you're here today and you are a member, if you are a veteran of the Iraq or Afghanistan wars, raise your hand for me. Absolutely. Let's give them a round of applause. In all things that we do, we want to continue to honor, but I want to now shift this for just a moment. See, we're going to have a wonderful lunch in just a little bit that's been cooked for you, it's provided for you. Veterans, I want to say thank you for every area you've served. Whether it was any of these branches, and I think all of us were wondering truly what the Space Force song was going to be. It's just the Star Trek theme. I don't know if you knew that or not. But I will say this. We honor you. But class, senior class, junior class, so on and so forth, Greenbrier High School, I need you to pay attention right now. Understand that like all wars, the wars that we fought in, Afghanistan for me, Iraq for some, the Gulf War, the Cold War, all the way back, Vietnam, all wars end. As guns cease, memories remain. I want you to talk to these veterans. I want you to get their memories, their stories of those that they served with. But understand, to those who have served before me, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for setting the example that I have. The example of service, of honor and integrity, of being able to do the right thing no matter what the costs are, no matter what the obstacle is, being able to teach that and inspire that in me as a young leader so that I could teach that to now my young soldiers. But students, I need you to understand this. Know that the security and the freedom that this nation currently has, it doesn't end with us as veterans. You see, it must be your responsibility one day. As we take our uniforms off one day, as some already have, we transition this mantle and this responsibility over to a select few of you. We don't draft in this nation anymore, but we take volunteers. And I want you to hear from someone who is not me, this is an exact wording, came from Oliver North, from a beautiful, beautiful entrance to a Veterans Day speech that he gave. And I want you to hear exactly what this next generation has to be and who they are currently, because that is some of you today. This is not a recruiting speech. This is a reality wake-up. That as we speak, a war in Ukraine and Russia is going into its third year come February. That as we speak, Ukrainian forces are now meeting 10,000 North Koreans on the battlefield that have joined that fight. Something goes wrong in the wrong direction, and we see war kick off in Asia, and we see war expand in Europe. And all of a sudden, we see the need for more Americans to defend this nation. But I believe that we have a bright hope because of this. These were the words that he gave. The average age of a young American serving in uniform today is 20 and a half years old, making him about 10 months older than his grandfather who served in Vietnam. He's a high school graduate. He or she is a volunteer. They are brighter, they are better educated, better trained and equipped than any soldier, sailor, airman, marine of any country in history. They go to work wearing an 8-pound Kevlar helmet, a 45-pound plate of body armor. They have been taught chemistry, physics. They have been taught ballistics, avionics, and electronics in order to operate the most sophisticated and advanced equipment designed by the hands of man today. He can use his body like a weapon and his weapon like a part of his body. He can take the life and he can also save one because he has been trained to do so remarkably well. The images of these young warriors going to Bible studies and religious services isn't a stage thing. When they gather in prayer circles and huddles before a mission, they are not going to a football game. They are not going to win a temporary victory. They are going and stepping into mortal combat. They know that some of them may never come back. And they do it for you. They do it so that you know that you have tomorrow. As I stepped onto the plane the very first day that we lost Sergeant Savard in Afghanistan in 2012, I laid his body to rest knowing that he would go home to a wife and a child who would be mourning his loss. But as we carried his body onto that plane, and the next day taking Sergeant McPherson's body as well, as we walked onto that ramp, they were escorted by hundreds and hundreds of soldiers who had turned out to say goodbye. His squad carried him, and today they carry his memory with them as veterans. Memorial Day serves those that we've lost, and Veterans Day are those who are alive today, and we want to honor you and say thank you for every bit of service, for every bit of sweat that you have poured for the defense of this nation. Let's give them one more time, and please, if you could, if you're a civilian here, stand and give them a standing ovation today that they deserve.
These names were submitted by either phone, letter, email, or Google form. If we missed any names, we sincerely apologize. Veterans, when you hear your name, please rise so that we may recognize you. Brian Butler, Air Force, 6 years. Dakota Lawler, Air Force, 10 years. James Pierce, Air Force, 7 years. James Warren, Air Force, 4 years. Robert Long, Air Force, 21 years. Albert Zimmerebner, Army, 20 years. Arlie Kitt, Army, 4 years. Arthur Thomas Watt, Army, 10 years. Ben Verrill, Army, 14 years. Bill Wilson, Army, 6 years. Chad Smith, Army, 22 years. Daniel West, Army, 23 years. David Meeks, Army, 5 years. David Ted Green III, Army, 5 years. Gary Flowers, Army, 3 years. Gary Matheny, Army, 3 years. Howard Lee Cook, Army, 7 years. Howard West, Army, 28 years. James Hindman, Army, 5 years. Jason Miller, Army, 4 years. Jeremy Miller, Army, 23 years. Jimmy Wayne Everett, Army, 2 years. John Conville, Army, 3 years. John Fleming, Army, 4 years. Johnny Donald, Army, 2 years. Joseph Riella, Army, 6 years. Kyle Garner, Army, 9 years. Mark Allen Roberts II, Army, 6 years. Michael Seeger, Army, 4 years. Mickey Lee Hopper, Army, 32 years. Randall J. Franks, Army, 18 years. Rex Murray, Army, 20 years. Richard DeGraff, Army, 6 years. Richard Fletcher, Army, 2 years. Ronald Seekins, Sharon Lee L. Mixon, Army, 15 years. Socorro Delgado, Army, 14 years. Stephen L. Richard, Army, 24 years. Thomas Perry, Army, 26 years. Vernon Davis, Army, 36 years. Vincent Stokes, Army, 13 years. Wendell Price, Army, 3 years. Zach Farley, Army, 8 years. Bruce Leggett, Army and Air Force, 7 years. James Pierce, Army and Air Force, 7 years. Nicholas Swafford, Army and Marines, 7 years. Arvil Martin, Marines, 13 years. Bill Robinson, Marines, 3 years. Craig Morris, Marines, 3 years. Esteban Delgado, Marines, 4 years. Jason Wooden, Marines, 20 years. John Emery Crum, Marines, 6 years. Justin Jones, Marines, 4 years. Philip Hutchins, Marines, 20 years. Randall Lewis Ginn, Marines, 10 years. Robert Kemper, Marines, 15 years. Ryan Childers, Marines, 17 years. Stephen Eric Gillen, Marine, 4 years. Adam Tackett, Navy, 4 years. Alan Whitley, Navy, 3 years. Bob Collar, Navy, 4 years. Bobby Johnson, Navy, 20 years. Brian Hartwick, Navy, 24 years. Dan Henderson, Navy, 6 years. David Meeks, Navy, 5 years. Donald Alberts, Navy, 3 years. Frank Chapman, Navy, 4 years. Gregory Bean, Navy, 10 years. Jim Boyd, Navy, 4 years. Jimmy Bryan, Navy, 5 years.
Next, our very own Sophie Smithson will be singing a medley of America the Beautiful and God Bless America.
Spacious us today, please stand so we can acknowledge and honor you for your service and or your future service.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we draw our ceremony to a close today, let's take a moment to reflect as we have honored the men and women who have worn the uniform with pride and who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. Their bravery and commitment have shaped the course of our history and secured the values we hold dear. Let us remember that our gratitude does not end with this ceremony. Every day we have the opportunity to show our appreciation by supporting veterans and their families, advocating for their needs and ensuring their stories are never forgotten. To our veterans, we both present and absent, we say once again, thank you. Thank you for your service, thank you for your sacrifice, and it has not gone unnoticed. You are the true embodiment of heroism and forever in your debt. Let us all strive to live in a way that reflects the values of which you have fought so valiantly. As we go about our lives, let's do so with a sense of duty and a deep appreciation for the freedoms we enjoy because of your sacrifices. Thank you for all being here today and for paying a tribute to those who have served. Let us now move forward with a renewed commitment to honor their legacy every day of the year. Thank you again. God bless America.
We would like to say a special thank you to GHS administration, band, beta, cafeteria staff, choir, East, faculty, FBLA, FCCLA, specifically Ms. Wilson for all that she's done for this program today, Greenbrier First Service Bank, and all of the students that helped us set up, Greenbrier Hearts, Greenbrier Walmart, the Roadrunners EHC, Verco, Wagon Wheel Restaurant, and most importantly, our veterans and their families. Have a great rest of your day. Veterans and guests, if you would please remain seated as we dismiss the rest of our students back to class.